What is up, everyone? What is up? How's it going? Happy Sunday, happy fun day. What's everyone up to? So, yeah, I got a little surprise for you all. I know y'all have seen the mess that is my workspace and everything. Well, I've been slowly cleaning up the entire house, and one of the first things I actually started with was the workspace. So, if you notice, I even got the remote stacked over here. So one sec. Let's actually switch cameras here so you can actually see the proof here. So, as you can, don't mean that shot. It's clean. The desktop is clean. Look at this. And then, hold on. Can I zoom in? You can see there's something charging right there, but it's all cleaned up now. So, I'm working on cleaning up some more stuff and everything like that. The space behind me is still a little bit messy because I have a lot of the ham equipment stuff that I'm going to be installing after DEF CON and everything. Europe, love listening when you're at nighttime. Oh, nice. Where in Europe yet? What's your opinion on the UK age verification thing using a foreign private company's AI age verification? So we're actually going to be talking about that tonight. That is the UK Online Safety Act. So, why is it all the fun breaches tend to happen? Well, fun, I guess, is a subjective term depending on if it happens to you. But all the fun things happen while I'm usually on my off days. So, I heard T, what type? That app, the application. So if you've actually been in the Discord server, you'll see that we've been talking about this for ever since it actually happened. And, that app, it's garbage in multiple ways. So one, they definitely didn't take security seriously from the beginning, which is ironic for an app that bills themselves as trying to help, women, in terms of safely dating and everything. Now, I won't disregard the fact that, yes, there are safety issues when it comes to dating, period. Whether you're a man or a woman, there's differences between the two, of course. There's nuances and everything. But I think that T-App, one, it's going to cause more problems than it's actually going to solve. But also, we can see their security was not done properly. And the reason why we know this is, 72,000 images were leaked, including photo IDs from users in a public bucket. They weren't hacked. They weren't compromised. They merely had a leaky bucket. And to add insult to injury, yeah, they didn't have any security. I think it was their Firebase database, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, God. Is my connection being unstable right now? Hold on. So it looks like it was... I thought I fixed this. Let me open up the Twitch inspector over here. Because I was dropping. I'm still dropping. I'm checking. Hold up. Did I lose connectivity altogether? Hold on. What the hell just happened? What the hell just happened? Did I just drop connection? I've been tracking down some networking issues inside of my stuff, and it's been crazy. So, don't know what the hell happened there. I'm keeping an eye on my monitor and everything. I don't know what the hell just happened. Am I possibly oversaturating the connection? Oh, I'm at like 82% decode encode. I think my connection just dropped. I know there was some storms that came through that may have messed up some things, so I apologize if there's some internet issues going on. I don't know what happened there. Where was I before I got lost? Yeah, it just relaunched the whole thing. What the hell? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. My network really going bad. All right, hold on. This is annoying. Just detected a crash report. What's going out on WAN? Okay, so it's definitely working just fine over there. Oh, it's definitely going out just fine. So, why am I dropping frames? Oh. Okay, so the network is getting clogged. We're gonna try this. Hold on. I wonder if I was pushing the network just a little bit too hard. I was trying to optimize some profiles. I am so sorry. The stream has been a little bit weird. Are you still seeing here? Okay. Yeah, Twitch was being weird. Okay. Let's get this. Still reporting is unstable, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. Yeah, I apologize. The stream has been a little bit weird because I had a storm come through and I'm wondering if they messed up some of the network connectivity and everything going on. Well, that's a bummer. I thought it was going out the backup internet, but I guess not. So let's catch up to chat and everything. So yeah, sorry. I've been working hard to figure out the networking issues. So I did actually solve the networking issues, the majority of the ones that were actually out there, which were there was some shielding poking through on the coax cable, which was actually shorting it out, causing a lot of electromagnetic interference. So RF noise. Actually, it would be RF noise, not EMI. But anyway, So that seemed to have solved the majority of the issues with my stream and everything. Now, I did do a multicast stream test the other day for an hour and a half and had like almost no issues. But of course, there's a storm going on recently, and I wonder if that caused some issues. But then I also tweaked my Twitch and all those other profiles to optimize the quality and everything. And I think I was just pushing the Twitch profile a little bit too hard. So I just dropped off stream for a second, pulled it back in. We should be good. Yeah, so we'll monitor how that's going. I think the GPU is getting pushed a little bit too hard because it was hitting about 80 some odd % on NVENC using the Twitch Enhanced. Whereas now it's sitting steady at around close to 70, 68, 67% for all that stuff. So, sorry. Welcome to tech. Anyway, I don't remember that tattoo. I've had the tattoo for years. It's a friend that passed away. In remembrance. What's up, Hans? How's it going? You just missed the internet issues I was dealing with. Started the stream, was chatting, and then I looked over and I'm like, I am completely dropping. So I pushed my stream box just a little bit too hard. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting a 50-50 in the stream rig over there. Hopefully that should improve some things. And then I can start shooting Twitch out at AV1 encoding. Give you all a better quality and everything. I'll look towards that probably maybe end of year. But anyway, so the T app, let's get back to that. So as I was saying, the T app did get compromised. The irony of an app that tries to bill itself as, you know, your thoughts on multiple GPUs and one desktop CPU, desktop PC. It's doable, but the honest truth is it's not really worthwhile doing unless you're trying to do GPU tasks, general purpose GPU, tasks where you're actually using your GPU for additional processing. There used to be a use case when Crossfire and SLI were being pushed a lot more, but NVIDIA's even like not been caring so much about SLI nearly as much. Now, if you're doing like LLMs, stuff like that, where you're going to need more pure processing, yeah, get another GPU in there. It actually can, help if you're doing, different kinds of processing. But in most cases, for the average person, not going to matter. But back to what I was saying, the T app. So that app recently shot to #1 in the App Store. And they try to build themselves as helping, dating safety. It's a woman's only app. Well, it was compromised. But the interesting thing was it wasn't really compromised in the way of being exploited or anything. They had extremely bad security. They had a leaky bucket. I believe it was Firebase that they were using, and it was just publicly available. And apparently it had data going back about 2 years. There were people that actually scraped the data with very simple Python scripts, and there were about 72,000 images leaked. And that tells me a couple of things. One, they didn't care about security, ironically, for an app trying to build themselves as being secure for a lot of people. And what I mean by that is I was talking to a buddy of mine that's a pen tester, and I asked them straight up, like, this is not a sophisticated attack. You've got some automated tools that you do as part of your job every day. If we just threw an automated pen test through a company, nothing sophisticated, would your tools have found that? And he's like, oh yeah, no doubt. That's like one of the first things we look for, which tells me they never actually invested in cybersecurity to begin with. So did you cover what MasterCard and Visa did? No, not yet. Let's focus on the T app first. We'll get to the UK Online Safety Act, and then remind me, Vampire, we will come back to that. Because that's another issue with collective shout and things like that going on. But yeah, so the T app was compromised because they had a leaky bucket. I can save money now, get money, and then tell me you don't got it when I see. Wait, getting bread, I do this for the streets. ADHD. Thank you, Draco, for those gifted subs. Appreciate you. Happy hacking, bud. So, maybe a video on the app, T-app leaks. It's doing numbers right now. I was thinking about that, but I wanted to get to a stream. So I haven't had time in the past couple of days because I've been busy cleaning my house and cleaning my room. I have some repairs going to be done in the house, and I need to get furniture and stuff out of the way. I already have 4 videos that I need to go about editing. They're already recorded. I have a 5th one that I have a script on. I haven't scripted the T-app or anything. I will get into that, but we've talked about it on Discord and, you know, all that. So hopefully I can get around to recording that tomorrow before I get on stream. Maybe edit that on Tuesday. I'm probably going to end up queuing a lot of these videos for me to edit when I'm traveling and such for DEF CON. But, yeah, so the T-app, I mean, it was very easy to see that this was going to be happening, that, you know, people were going to start poking at them with their popularity. Not specifically just because they, you know, are what they are, but because with popular apps, people are going to go poking at things. I mean, I remember when DeepSeek was just released, they started poking at it and saw there were some insecure things with how it was doing things. Now, DeepSeek itself, if you run it locally, is fine. But the DeepSeek web hosted side of things was relatively insecure. So the T-app, there's been a lot of people going about it. Now, I will say this about the T-app. I don't care for that app, and if you made a version, because it's women only, if you made a version for men, I would still be hating on that app. Like, let's say they made call it coffee for whatever reason, or beer, I don't care. It's a problem. And I look at vibe coding and with AI as the reason. I think that may have played a role as well, because I've run into this quite a bit where I deal with coders and they don't understand best practices. Like, you want to use ChatGPT or any other LLM to create an application or do whatever, it will do that. But the problem is, it's not like when you're doing a code review with a human that actually knows frameworks and stuff that they need to deal with. And you're going to get very insecure code. So, for example, I have ChatGPT all the time help me just make frameworks for little Python scripts that I need to do it, because it's quicker for it to do it than me to do it. I know what to do, but it's figuring all that out. But then when I look at what it gives me, it's like, oh yeah, hard code the API key. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to throw it to a secrets manager. And then, you know, you have to tell it how to secure things, how to modularize it, and things like that. So it will do it, but it's not going to do it well. The problem is a lot of developers, especially the newer ones now that are relying more on LLMs to do a lot of their heavy lifting, they don't have this background information to be like, yes, this is good base code, but I need to tweak it and enhance it a little bit. That's, I think, the problem. Now, the problem with the T-app as it is it would be fine if it was just a simple app like been verified, something like that, where you go and look up someone's background and check to make sure they are legitimate. And, yeah, the main issue is they didn't hire anyone for OPSEC pen test validation prior to launch. Absolutely agree. And this is an application that is originally, from my understanding, originally they did have you use your photo ID for verification. They've since dropped that requirement. I could be mistaken, but they did not take security as a priority, which is ironic because they're trying to build themselves as helping, you know, safety in the dating world. The problem with the app as well is that it allows unverified, you know, gossip and everything like that. And that's where I have another issue, because they're opening themselves up to a huge amount of libel. And another thing I found out was I was chatting with some friends. Apparently, they don't operate in Europe and Canada, from my understanding, because they would run afoul of privacy laws. And this is my litmus test for a lot of applications out there. If you are not able to run your app in the EU, barring financial ones, because that's a whole other thing, like stocks and all that. But if you're not able to actually get your app to be compliant with even just the EU GDPR, that's not an app that really should be worth having, in my opinion. But yeah, so the app got compromised. Even worse, the images had metadata attached to them. So apparently people are out there making maps with all the images that were leaked of the, where the images were taken. Because a lot of the users didn't realize that when you take a picture, most people don't know this when I talk to them as well, Android and iOS by default actually record metadata to tell where you actually took this photo. And that metadata was kept into the site. Now, Discord had a problem with that for a while as well, and my understanding is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is they've stripped that metadata out upon upload. So, yeah, it was a disaster from the get-go. They did not consult cybersecurity from the get-go. And, they're going to try to say, well, it was only these old users that got leaked and everything from an old bucket that was 2 years ago. The problem is you gave people the expectation that when you upload these photos, you will be deleting them. You did not do that. They said they keep it for cyberbullying reasons. I question that. But the other issue is they didn't, like I said, they haven't done any proper or even basic security testing out the gate before they launched this app. And it's going to also, I think, create more problems overall with just would the word be societal issues that come about with this? Now, don't get me wrong. I think everyone should do their due diligence to check out people before you actually go on a date. I do it. When I go on a date, I check, people out, what their socials are. I want to make sure that I'm not going to be dating an axe murderer, And I think that's fair. But I think the problem is, as well, as many of us have had the situation, both male and female, or any whatever, I don't care what you choose to present yourself as, just let's go with this, have had exes that have been toxic and have just thrown toxic things out there to try to make you look bad. And that happens with both men and women. And I think that's a problem right there because you allow for unverified claims. And that's one of the problems that I have with the T app. And now you're going to have this problem where all these users had their metadata leaked. Their images are out there. They're tied to the app and everything like that. And it's just, yeah. Go on a date to an axe throwing place. Watch their skills closely. Whoa, 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 whoa. I would totally date a nice, a Viking shield maiden? If she can throw axes, that's kind of hot. I'm just saying. There's nothing wrong with that. The question is, do they lust for blood? But yeah, there's a lot of problems with the T app, not just from this breach, but even before this breach, the issues around the way they're going about doing things. Axe throwing is fakes. They give you hatchets instead. For just game servers, I have to hire consultants to verify I am not inadvertently broadcasting PII and private IPs. Yeah, but you're going above and beyond because I think in many places, depending on the legality, the regulations and local jurisdictions, you don't really have to do that. Oh yeah, I talked about that. I was playing around with Discord and metadata. Oh yeah? What'd you find there, Stabby? But yeah, the T app is just a concerning application overall. Now, if it was just as simple as, hey, here are some ways that you can easily, do some background checks on people and help them, search for things, that'd be another thing. But when you're throwing up people's, information and then trying to get random people to throw in their opinions on it. You don't know if that's legitimate or not. And I think the TAP is honestly opening themselves up to a potential liability of, this would be libel, not slander, because it's written, not spoken. That's a whole concern in and of itself. Anyway, that's it in the nutshell. I'll try to actually make a YouTube video about it as well, but I have a video I'm also working on about the Irish. The Irish are trying to require backdoors to encryption as well. I want to get that out in priority, because I think that overall is more important to get information out about, to protect the people, you know, in Ireland, and have awareness, well, not protect, but have awareness of this growing issue. The TAP, it's been kind of spoken to death about a lot of these things. I'll chime in my 2 cents and everything like that. But yeah, the thoughts on the new UK privacy laws. So that was the other thing we're going to be talking about, the UK Online Safety Act. So bear with me. What's up, Aaron? How's it going? Bear with me. Let me refresh my memory here, because I was reading up on it while I was cleaning the room and everything, and I just want to make sure that I am getting my facts together. So my understanding is it is requiring the IDs of people to access certain sites. So I guess we can go to gov.uk over here. What do you think about Ente Photos? I haven't played with that, honestly. We can take a look at it in a sec. There's a new set of laws that protects children and adults online. I always question anyone whenever they try to do a think of the children kind of approach on things, because the problem is, people know that people are sensitive to children, of course, having a, you know, we want to protect children. It makes total sense there. But I think people abuse that. And we can see that historically, where a lot of bad laws have gone in under the context of save the children, think of the children. The strongest protections in the Act have been designed for children. The platforms will be required to prevent children from accessing harmful and age-inappropriate content and provide parents and children with clear and accessible ways to report problems online when they do arise. The Act will also protect adult users, blah, 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 blah. Provider safety duties are proportionate to factors, including the risk harm to individuals. Okay, so who the Act applies to. The Act's duties apply to search services and services that allow users to post content online or to interact with each other. So basically most of the internet as we know it. This includes a range of websites, apps, and other services, including social media services, consumer file cloud storage, and sharing sites, video sharing platforms, online forums, dating services, and online instant messaging services. So essentially, most of the internet as we know it. Even Discord is being blocked in the UK? What the? Are you serious? See, that's the problem, is I don't think they understood that you're going to force these laws, but a lot of businesses are going to say, well, that's cool, we're just not going to comply, and we'll just block your entire market. So the UK, I think, is going to actually be doing more harm than good overall to their economy, when people don't want to do businesses because of the regulatory burdens. And yes, you need to submit your ID to use Discord in the UK. What the? I'm sorry. Hold on. What the? Okay, so let's see. The Act requires Ofcom to develop guidance and codes of practice that will set out how online platforms can meet their duties. Ofcom must carry out public consultations on draft codes of practice before finalizing them, and the codes must be laid before Parliament before they take effect. The main phases are set out below. Duties about illegal content. Okay, so I'm trying to see what came into effect then. So, duties are okay, so, accessing online child. I'm trying to read. On 24th April 2025, the Protection of Children Code practice was laid onto. Okay, so here's where it is. On 24th of April 2025, the Protection of Children Codes of Practice were laid in Parliament, and Ofcom published guidance on how providers should carry out risk assessments for assessing the risk of harm to children. Services likely to be accessed by children now have 3 months with a deadline of 24th of July 2025 to complete their children's risk assessment. The child safety regime will be fully in effect by summer of 2025. So that's what happened, because I know they passed it a while ago, but I didn't know the phased-in approach or anything like that. So this is going to be a problem for the UK, because a lot of platforms just are not going to be dealing with this. And not only that, this is going to open up even more risks, because you know how we were just talking about T and how they had a leaky bucket that had a bunch of their users leaked, including photo IDs? You're opening the same can of worms, because now developers are going to have to worry about complying with the UK Online Safety Act, but then are they going to be executing and implementing it properly? And then the question becomes, are they going to be good stewards of that data? How is that data going to be processed? How is that data going to be verified? And it's just, it's opening a lot of cans of worms when it comes to it. When I first saw headlines about the T app, I thought it was from the UK Online Safety Act. No, it's because the US has a lack of general data protection regulations. The T app actually would not be allowed in the EU, from my understanding, because of GDPR. They run afoul of GDPR because of their main core idea, because in Europe, you have the right to be forgotten. And that is in complete opposition to how the T app is operating. But the UK Online Safety Act is definitely a problematic piece of legislation that I hope the UK wakes up and realizes just how much damage they're doing. Because the interesting thing is, while I was actually looking up information to learn about that, this was interesting that I found. Frick. So, Proton VPN is apparently reporting a 1,400% increase in UK signups following the Online Safety Act. And that's what I think the UK didn't consider, is they're only going to be doing it, just making sure that they're compliant with the law or blocking UK-based IP addresses, because for those of you not aware, every country basically has a CIDR block, a CIDR block of entire IP ranges, and that's how we can basically figure out that they're in this country. So if you're coming from this IP, they're just going to, slam on whatever, protections or, regulations or, geo-block you or whatever. But a VPN would just, in this case, the VPNs that you're not creating yourself unless you're creating in another area, they're designed, well, they're not designed, but they happen to be a byproduct of the capabilities that they have to be able to circumvent geo-blocks. And also, shameless plug, I am affiliated with Proton. So if you want to help support this channel, definitely go to the links in my bio and get Proton through my links. I do recommend them. I like their Proton Pass. I like their Proton Mail. I think it's a great suite of privacy tools out the box for many different people without having to do anything too complicated. You can even run custom domains on it if you want. It's a great little platform there. And I use the VPN when I'm traveling very often so I can access all of my different streaming services. Like say when I was in Portugal and I still wanted to access, Hulu and stuff from the American side. It's great for that. So, yeah, definitely. What's up, Seekney? You're building your own Linux from scratch distro? Nice. But yeah, the UK privacy laws, they are a nightmare. I still have to get my DNS configured for the domain on mine, but love Proton. Yeah. It's pretty straightforward and really easy to use. I also like the ability that they have with simple login. So they have integration with simple login that allows you to alias your emails. So I can use a different email for every sign up that's completely anonymized and then it forwards into my main inbox. It's great for that. So I can have dozens of emails. So if that site ever does get compromised, they only have the one email that I set up for that to forward through. And then if that email ever gets too spammy or whatever, so when I do marketing emails, things like that, I can just create a throwaway link. If it becomes spammy, I can kill that, and then that link is dead. But yeah, the UK Online Safety Act, I think, is a can of worms that was designed by a bunch of boomers that really don't understand how the internet in the modern era works. Not to mention, I think companies that are trying to become compliant with the UK Online Safety Act are going to have security issues in and of themselves. Again, as I mentioned earlier, related to the T app. If T was leaking users' info because they had an open Firebase database bucket and a bunch of users' information was just leaked that way, it's going to get worse when every site has to deal with the UK for online verification. But even worse, a lot of websites are just going to block the UK outright because a lot of these forums and different sites that a lot of people use, they're run by smaller individuals and smaller companies that don't have the resources to actually do that kind of thing. We have a potential law that's just as bad, if not worse here, COSA version 5. Are they still trying to do that? The Kids Online Safety Act? They still trying to do that BS? Well, in the U.S., call your reps, call your senators. Tell them that shit's stupid. Seriously, contact your congressperson. Are you going to DEF CON? Yeah, I'll probably be out there. It's looking like I'll probably be out there. I'm looking at being there for quite a while. I got quite a few friends that are going to be showing up. So it should be fun. I'll have some announcements in the Discord server as well on potential meetups and everything like that. They made it worse by a factor or two again. Of course they did. And let me guess, it's written by boomers that don't understand how the internet works, and it's like they think the internet is just a series of tubes. I'm tired of this, Grandpa! So, yeah, speaking of DEF CON, I think I got my mini little laptop over here, working to the point where I think I'm comfortable with taking this. I'm going to be running this purely on cell data. It's got a cell modem inside of here. What is the best source to learn how the internet works? What aspect of the internet are you looking to learn? Because that is a hugely broad subject. Just to give you an idea, there's BGP, there's DNS, there's web, there's, how websites work. Do you want to know how a website is actually, run and everything like that? There's a lot to this entire subject, is what I'm saying. NT photos. What is NT photos? Sounds familiar. I think I was actually looking at this. Yeah, I think I was looking at this when I was gonna de-apple myself, and switch completely to Graphene OS. So yeah, NT, I don't have any issues with them. I think a lot of people recommended me to them. Forward email.net. What is that? Privacy-focused email hosting, forwarding, newsletters, and API. Okay, I mean, it's another, service out there. I'm trying to see. Basically, it's just another email host, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't really delved too much into this. I'd have to poke into them. I don't know what compliances and stuff they went with. That's interesting. Oh. Interesting. No, I was curious they had that actually out there. I haven't really dealt with this too much. Let's see, what's the technical white paper? Okay. It's pretty recent. An era, blah, 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 blah. They go into this quite a bit. So they even cover different adversary models, using quantum encryption, yada, yada, yada. I'll have to delve into this a little bit more. I mean, it looks kind of promising. Yeah, I'd have to look into this a little bit more and delve into it beyond just the stream and digest the data. But looks like they have quantum resistant encryption, zero knowledge operations, and a distributed architecture. So I'm curious how all of that actually works. Of course, they're talking about the basic email security protocols, SPF, DKIM, DMARC, MTA, yeah. The basics. Yeah, I'll have to tinker with it. I mean, it looks interesting. I'm just curious about what compliances they are with and what audits they have undergone. Let's see. So GDPR compliance. So they are GDPR compliant. That's pretty good. I'm curious if they're ISO 27001, SOC 2 Type 1, or Type 2. So I'd have to look into that, but, you know, SOC would actually take some time for them to get verified on if that is actually what they're going about. And if they're as recent as April, they may still be undergoing ISO compliance if they're actually targeting that. But that's just another rabbit hole we're going down with on that. What is the best? Oh yeah, so it's been a while, my friends. I got a Framework 16 a little bit ago. I'm loving it. Nice. I mean, the structure of the internet and how data travels across it, I guess. So, I cobbled together a lot of my information over the years. Basically, what you're going to want to do is... You're going to want... I don't know of any specific resource today that exists. A lot of the ones I learned, unfortunately, no longer exist. Because I learned it piecemeal from different forums and things like that. But, you'll want to look into, like, Border Gateway Protocol. That's how it crosses between different ISPs and how they do the handoffs there. You'll want to look into DNS, Domain Name System. You'll want to look into, I think it's, what is it? ARN? I think it's ARN. What does ARN stand for off the top of my head? I can't remember. Networking. What is ARN? No, I'm thinking of Amazon resource name. Never mind. I'm thinking of ARP. I got my acronyms messed up. Yeah, ARP, Address Resolution Protocol. So there's a lot that goes into it. Networking is a whole deep field in and of itself. But I will say, not that you need to know the ins and outs of the entire, side of networking. You should understand a lot of the base core concepts if you want to get into cybersecurity or any part of tech. I talk about this all the time. Signal processing, digital data, PWM, signal output types. The internet is a big collection of subjects. Oh yeah, absolutely. You can spend an entire lifetime and still not even scratch the surface as one individual, because there's so many different niches and specialties into making the world wide internet as we know it operate. It's also gotten more sophisticated as the years have gone on. Like when the internet first came out, we didn't have network address translation. Now we do, and then now we're dealing with CGNAT and things like that. And it's only going to get more complex over time. Looking at services that are privacy focused, I have the skills to self-host, just not sure I want to. If you're talking about self-hosting email, don't do it. The reality is, everyone I know, and I was guilty of this, so take it from a person that self-hosted their own email server for 10 years. There's a reason why I have the running joke of friends don't let friends run their own email servers. And it has to do with the fact that email servers are no longer as simple as they once were. Early on, as late as the 2000s, not the 2010s, running your own email server was a relatively simple endeavor. You got your DNS records resolved, you set up your SPF, all that, you're off to the races. Nowadays, even if you have all of that, you still have to go about making sure that you are whitelisted from several services. I remember I had to go to Microsoft, submit a request to get my email to be allowed to work with their systems. Then I even had to do the same thing with AOL. Yes, AOL. The other problem is, if you're talking about self-hosting from your home internet, most ISPs are blocking port 25, which is essential to email operation. And they're doing that intentionally because people wouldn't, as part of compromises, set up email servers on devices, basically, as part of the attack, and then start sending spam and everything like that. So that's the unfortunate, honest truth. Now, you could easily do it a little bit better if you got a business class internet and got a static IP from an ISP, but you're going to be paying out the butt in many cases for that. And if you're also behind CGNAT on your residential network, it's not really going to work that well. That's the unfortunate reality with running your own email server. You can run it in the cloud and everything, but again, a lot of these clouds, you have to make sure you have a clean IP from like Spamhaus and the other, reputation companies that deal with the checks on servers and everything like that. You have to warm the IP and everything. It is, your ISP doesn't even offer static IPs for residential. Yeah, they don't offer static IPs, period, for residential. They used to. When I was growing up, companies used to offer that as a residential customer. They don't do that anymore because they want to sell that to businesses. Because one, the average residential person doesn't need it. And two, they want to charge businesses more for that. And I don't even think you can do email servers properly with dynamic DNS. What Linux distro do you recommend for beginner to learn Linux for a network position? I generally use Pop! OS for my own personal things, but if you're trying to learn this professionally, most often in businesses, you're going to be using what's called a Red Hat Enterprise Linux, RHEL. That is a paid-for Linux that, you can get licensing and support and everything like that. You could pay for that license if you want. It's not too expensive. But ones that are RHEL types that are similar, like Fedora. What is the one that does hosting and everything? Because CentOS is no longer around. It's Alma, I think it is, or Rocky Linux. Those are options you can look at if you're trying to do the server side of things. Because a lot of companies will not use Debian-type Linuxes. And if you're using, like, AWS, they're running AWS Linux very often, Amazon Linux. And that is a RHEL-type Linux as well. So, yeah, I would look at, Pop! OS, it'll give you a lot of the basics and everything. Most of the time when it comes to understanding RHEL is understanding YUM versus DNF, depending on what version of RHEL you have, and the nuances that come around that. It's mostly the package management and a couple other tools inside of it. But for the most part, it'll translate to each other about 90% of things. There's a few nuances with how the distros structure things, but you should be fine in most cases. Can one get A plus and N plus in 90 days? I hear people can do that, but I've never actually had my A plus nor my network plus, because I've been in the field for like 10 years and I didn't really spend the time to go get those certs. The only cert that I have is CISSP. The Certified Information Security Systems Professional. You get that after you're about 5 years in the field, or 4 years if you have a 4-year degree. That's what I did. I think it paid off quite nicely, especially because work paid for it. I don't really see the point in going after the smaller certs anymore for myself. I hear other people do fine with it. And remember, as nice as the certs are, I know you're trying to check off those boxes for HR to be able to see your resume and everything. Make sure that you also home lab, you tinker, and focus on getting the actual hands-on and field experience. That will matter more than anything, because a cert is just a piece of paper at the end of the day. So keep that in mind. How do I check if I have malware on my Windows PC? So out of the box, you have Windows Defender. You can run that. Although Windows Defender is, I'd give it kind of a C overall when it comes to its capabilities and all that. For the average person, it's more than enough. Just don't do anything stupid. Windows Defender will be plenty to protect most people out there. But I'm a proponent of Bitdefender, especially the Gravity Zone in a residential setting. That's what I would probably use to start scanning for malware and everything. You can use Malwarebytes. They do have a free version there. That's okay to go check for malware. I don't see the point in paying for it, because Bitdefender overall, holistically, is a much better product in what they're capable of. Now, in Bitdefender Gravity Zone, the business side of things is an EDR, XDR, so it does a little bit better. But I still say CrowdStrike is king when it comes to those kind of things. What's Linode? Linode is a server hosting company, so you can actually get virtual private servers, tinker, tear things up and down. Akamai bought them a few years ago, so if you go to Linode, I do like them. I haven't put stuff up on there in a few years, just because I've been doing a lot of my stuff locally. Now they're called Akamai Cloud. So my shirt is, old at this point. But you can get different servers, VPS, and they usually charge you by the hour. Are they really charging you by the entire month now? Oh no, that's the phone support. Never mind. I used to recommend this company all the time. But then, Akamai bought them, and it's no longer the great thing they once were, in my opinion. See, it used to be like really straightforward with like, oh yeah, we have this over here. But they're kind of, I guess, trying to build up to be similar to an AWS competitor. Like, they're really trying to market hard for, see if you qualify for, free credits and everything. That they're definitely pivoting more towards enterprise from what I can see, which is annoying. The other company you can use is DigitalOcean, which I've been using for a little while as well. Again, I haven't spun up anything lately. Why don't you just have a pricing list? Here we are. Why is it so hard to figure that out? Okay, so they still do hourly pricing. Okay, so basically you can spin up a server, tinker with an hour or two or however long you want instead of paying for the entire month, which is nice if, you're trying to get your hands on and tinker. So you can get like for $36 a month, 4 gig dedicated CPU, 2 CPU plan. They have like the shared ones over here. It's like $5 a month easily. Like you're not even paying one whole penny for an hour there. It's a cheap VPS. to do a lot of different things. So if you want to tinker, host some things in the cloud, understand how you can do some cloud computing and all that, it's great. Linode is an option there. They have S3 buckets you can tie in. They have block storage you can put in. So you can expand it with block storage. You can do object storage with S3. Now, the interesting thing I'm trying to see, so they have load balancers, but I don't think they have like a elastic compute or anything like that, or Kubernetes. I could be wrong. Trying to see here. Yeah, they do have Kubernetes. How come I really made this annoying to go browse their pricing and everything? So they have like a Kubernetes, so you can do K8 setup and everything like that. Let's see. What do you think about Parrot OS security on a VM? I think it's fine. I have Parrot OS bare metal on one of my laptops for when I need ethical hacking tools to tinker with. Not that I use it too much, but it has the suite of tools that I can use, so they're just right there. Parrot OS, I like that over Kali. I think it's a little bit better designed and optimized, whereas Kali, it's not really meant to be running bare metal, but you can run it in a VM or a flash drive. Parrot OS definitely gets my vote for if you're needing an ethical hacking distribution that also can be used as a daily driver. It's relatively stable. I don't really have much complaints with it. It's pretty. It's visually appealing. And I've noticed it's resolved a few weird issues I had when I was tinkering Kali as well. It's not old, it's legacy. Yeah, I'm just legacy. Is that what you're saying? I'm not old, I'm just legacy. Don't tell me you're one of those guys recommending Arch to noobs. Well, we definitely can tell you haven't seen my content, because no, I don't do that. In fact, I'm one of the people that genuinely makes fun of Arch people. In fun ways. No hate to them. But I do think that they need to go touch grass, and, you know, they're just trying to make up for the attention that their parents never gave them by using Arch, because they need that attention. Because they're the type of people that, you know, an Arch user, a Bitcoin user, and a CrossFit dude, and a vegan all walk into a bar. Who talks first? Because you want to know how you find an Arch user? Don't worry, they'll tell you. No hate whatsoever. But y'all Arch users do understand that y'all are kind of a problem. Render as a free tier cloud hosting plan. Not familiar with them. Grab a cheap VPS and forward the traffic. I mean, yeah, you can definitely do that. I've spun up Linodes and DigitalOcean boxes and stuff like that for cheap little VPNs so that I can have access somewhere else. The only problem is, because that IP is in a node data center, if I go to use it for like streaming services like Hulu and such, it's a problem. Whereas like Proton actually expenses effort to avoid a lot of those issues. I was kind of scared, but I'm not mad so far with Mint for gaming and Discord streaming. Yeah, I mean, Mint is okay. The only issue I have with Mint, and it's not really an issue per se, it's more so a lot of users don't realize just how bad the user experience and user interface of Windows is. So they go to Linux Mint because they're looking for something with a familiar interface. And I understand the idea behind that. Do not get me wrong. You want something to, you know, easily, you know, slide into and understand. The problem is, I don't think people really grasp the idea of you have full choice to actually enhance your experience to however you want and go experiment. I mean, yes, you have KDE out the box that kind of looks the same way, but you can tweak it however you want. You have GNOME that kind of gives a Mac OS type layout. You've got tiling managers and all these different types of things. And I'm just saying, like, look at how you can make your computer your own. I'm not necessarily saying go out and install Arch. You don't need to do that. That's going to cause a lot of headaches, especially if you're still relatively new to Linux. And the honest truth is I don't even run Arch because I don't want to deal with the maintenance and stuff that often comes around with it. Now, I know some Arch users will say, oh, well, I do fine. I have all these scripts to do it. That's cool. Cool. Good for you, buddy. Have a cookie. But the majority of us just want to use our computer and get it working to do the thing. My advice would be, yes, get your toes in the water with it, but don't be afraid to go try everything. I don't distro hop anymore, but I do encourage people to try the different distributions out there because maybe you like Bazite, maybe you like NixOS, maybe you like Pop OS, which is what I use personally. Maybe you like, I've known some people that use straight Red Hat or Fedora or, there's so many choices out there. And I think it's also a little bit of analysis paralysis for a lot of people that come into Linux because when you're with Windows and you're with Mac, that's just the packaged experience you are given, and you just roll with it. You are operating your computer in the way they want you to operate your computer. Whereas Linux lets you have your computer the way you want it. It's like the McDonald's, but without the processed food crap side of it. Have it your way. Wait, is that Burger King? Yeah, McDonald's is ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Burger King, I think, is have it your way. So they're the Burger King of, operating systems. And also, you can swap over different desktop environments. So there are ways you can install like GNOME, KDE, and such on top of it, and then when you log in, switch whatever one you want. So you can have whatever experience you want. Now, of course, some people are worried about breaking their machine. That is a possibility. That's a possibility even in Windows and Mac that you install something and you break your machine. That's just a fact of life. Your computer, if you do something with your machine and it doesn't go well, that's just it. So make sure you also back up all of your things as you go through doing this. One application that I actually use inside of Linux is called Deja Dupe. So I have a NAS on the network, and I have it backing up an encrypted backup of my machine, at least the home folders, every day. And then I also put things on my NAS to back up and all that stuff. But if my computer blows up, generally, I can reinstall and get back up and running within an hour. And most of that is just reinstalling the apps that I need and remembering all the different things I need. And then just a couple of configs to get like my cryptocurrency wallets and stuff going and reload my app images and my flat packs and all that and do my little customizations. Like out the box, for example, they have the Debian packaged version of Firefox in Pop OS. I remove that and I put the Flatpak version in. I like Flatpaks. It sandboxes things a little bit better. That's another thing is sandboxing is more available inside of Linux than Windows. Windows only has just started giving that feature and it's very limited. I think you need the Pro version of Windows. But yeah. Let's catch up on the chat over here. To be honest, I load both Parrot and Kali on Proxmox and set up VNC using Cloudflare. Fair enough. That works for you. Great. I love Kali. To be honest, it's a fantastic operating system. I don't like it as a daily driver. I just throw it in a VM if I ever need it, but I generally like Parrot OS overall to do a lot of the same things. They pretty much have all the same tools. I haven't run into issues with it for my stuff. What's your thoughts on the Kali GPT tool? I haven't played with it, honestly. What was the name? Name for what? I went through a lot of stuff. Were we talking about when I was on the virtual private server hosting of Linode and there was DigitalOcean? It was like AWS competitors. Was that it? Or am I missing something? Sorry about that. I went on a tangent. I didn't catch up with chat. Remote always on workstations. That's a thing. I hardened a bare metal install myself and have been daily driving Kali for months. That sounds just like you're making it a little bit more painful on yourself, because I've seen Kali break itself quite a bit, and it's just not well optimized for daily driving. I've seen that very often. I like that, stealing that. No, not you, the t-shirt. Oh, Linode. Yeah. I like this t-shirt. I got it at a Linux Fest a few years ago. I got several of them. Now they're up on my cloud, so these are, you know, nostalgia. No, he recommends Hannah Montana OS. Oh yeah, Hannah Montana. Do I have Hannah Montana on this? Alright, we're gonna be setting up Hannah Montana. I think I have it on my NAS. Let's see, VM ISO NAS. I could have sworn I had it in here. Yep, I got Hannah Montana Linux. So we're doing that. You get the best of both worlds. Alright, so if you don't know what this is one of the greatest memes of the Linux world. It's called Hannah Montana Linux. We're going to get this guy installed. This is... we'll just do a generic Linux, because this is old. Don't even need that much memory. Yeah, that's fine. I forgot you can't put spaces. So this is Hannah Montana Linux. This is so old, I think it's running Kubuntu 904 if I'm not mistaken. So some of the things may not work. What is a Flipper Zero? A Flipper Zero is just this compact little novel tool over here. I actually have to update the firmware on mine. We'll get into that in a little bit. I'm going to prepare that for DEF CON. Should you buy a Flipper Zero? I don't generally recommend most people just buy them. Why is this being a little bit derpy? I wonder if it just didn't like the generic setup that I threw it under. There we go. It was just taking its sweet time for whatever reason. Let's get English. Why did it not see the, not seeing the disk? Yeah, we can just at least run it at live, so you can see the concept. But yeah, this is Hannah Montana Linux. This is one of the original memes of the Linux world. So, it's a thing. It exists. There's also Selena Black OS and Bebian. That's Justin Bieber Linux. So people were making a lot of meme little Linuxes and stuff. It's so pink. It's themed out this way. This was a thing we used to install on people's computers just to mess with them, to the point that we used to actually run Rebecca Black. Thank you. Not Selena Black. Rebecca Black. You're streaming on another platform. This chat, yeah, on several platforms. Yeah, so people used to use this operating system as more of a joke than as a daily driver. I didn't know anyone that daily drove this, but basically, what I would do is I would often, to play a prank on somebody, this is back in the era of compact flash, which a lot of people didn't know natively ran as IDE, so you could actually slot that into an IDE to compact flash converter, set that as the master drive, and then have it boot up, and their computer would just boot up to Hannah Montana Linux. It was one of the best running jokes to run on people when they went on vacation. Just plug it into their computer, wait for them to come back, and then they turn on their computer, and it's Hannah Montana Linux. It was fun. Or you do, you know, Selena Black Linux or Bebian, you know, Justin Bieber Linux, as I said earlier. So those are your options. Yeah, so Hannah Montana Linux, it is a thing. I'm not even sure this works anymore for a lot of the standards. Like, I am just curious. I have a feeling, yeah, SSL is breaking. Like, it won't even work with Google. Because it doesn't support the new TLS standards. But, yeah, so this is a thing that we used to do, and we used to tease each other with. So I'm just gonna shut that down. But, yeah, that is Hannah Montana Linux. For anyone that is curious, you can still download it. I gotta force that off. I forgot. It's not even... There we go. It's so old, it's kind of being, a little bit janky. Alright, let's go back to the chat. Oh, the Archade is real. No, hey, no, in my honest opinion, Linux Mint is good. I think it's, I have no issue with it per se. It's more so that I don't want new users coming into Linux just being like, falling into old habits with Windows and the bad user interface and experience they had. I want them to actually enjoy their computer and make their computer their own and their own experience. But you know, and as I tell people, because people come to me often, like some people in chat have gone like, what is the best Linux? And my answer is always the one that actually fits your workflow best. So there is no best Linux. There's what's best for me Linux. So what I find, you know, like I like more Debians and everything. Like this guy over here, this is running straight Debian over here. This is my MNT Pocket Reform. This is my... little laptop that I've been hacking together. This is a fully open source laptop over here. It's kind of interesting. Let me see, where's the remote for this? So the thing I like about this is, like I said, fully open source. So the motherboard is, the firmware is a Raspberry Pi 2040. The batteries are even open source that I actually had to replace a couple of them to get it working. And it's got fully mechanical keyboard. So it's got RGB keyboard backlit, which you can also change the color however you want very easily by holding the hyper key and rolling the ball. You can upgrade the CPU very easily. It's an ARM type CPU right now. They do have plans to release RISC-V. I like it because it's completely open source and hackable to however you want. So I have this running Debian. And then right now, the Wi-Fi modem has issues on it because the initial releases, they had the IMX8M Plus, which the CPU is kind of good, but the package had the Wi-Fi card kind of iffy. So I plan to get that replaced with the RK3599. Is it 3399 or 3599? It's an 8-core CPU that I'm going to bump this up to either 16 or 32 gigabytes of RAM from the 8 that it has right now with a much faster CPU. And then the Wi-Fi card is not included on the SoC. It's a whole separate card that actually will fix a lot of the issues. But in the meantime, I have this with a 4G cell modem, so this is going to completely run off of cellular data. And the reason why I like this little guy was I was wanting to bring this to DEF CON because I wanted a little note-taking device. Because when you actually sit down at some of these conventions and stuff, You don't really have a table to sit down on, so I wanted a small device that was easy to open on a plane, to do my notes and little tasks I need to do. And like I said, it's a little bit slow because I'm going to upgrade the CPU. And but so far, I am loving this device for what it is. As you notice, my logo is on the back, and that's because PCBWay did sponsor that little project there. So there's a full aluminum backplate that actually has dropped temperatures by about 30 degrees Celsius. This is the MNT Pocket Reform. Now, I will be honest and say it's a little bit on the expensive side for what it is, but I love this laptop. Yeah, I think the case came out perfect. PCBWay originally made the components for MNT, which is part of the reason why I wanted to go with them, because the purple matches the original purple. And it's a little great device. Now, the battery doesn't last too long on it. It lasts about roughly 2 or so hours. But I think there's going to be some optimizations. It's called the MNT Mike November Tango Pocket Reform. So you can pick it up at mntre.com. They had, I originally got this through Crowd Supply, which is like Kickstarter, but way nerdier. So it's from this company. They are so open source. Their only real social media that they had was on Mastodon, which is how I originally learned about this. So they have a couple of laptops out there. They have the MNT Reform, and then they have the MNT Pocket Reform. The Reform, it looked interesting, but it was like just another laptop doing that. So this is the MNT Pocket Reform. This is the little upgrade I'm talking about. So I want to ideally get the 32 gigabyte RAM version and then get the Wi-Fi card. So that's another 730 euros. So it is kind of expensive. Like I said, because getting that and that. Although you could easily get... Okay, so they're only shipping the RK3588, so never mind. It's not nearly the expense that it once was. So they've dropped the A311D as the base option, and now they're only shipping the RK3588, which is what I would recommend it with anyway. So you can get the top end for another 250 euro. I have the clicky switches. Now, what's curious is, do they have it come with that header I was talking about? So, wait, I'm noticing a little card over here. So I think they updated the picture. Oh, the PCB header looks a little bit different there. Because what I'm talking about, what I was doing is, you see this little card over here? So this replaces the headphone jack and then gives you an extra M.2 slot so you can put your Wi-Fi card in. Because what I would do, and I have been doing, is there's two M.2 slots here. One for an NVMe, so I have a 512 gigabyte NVMe in there, so the OS is running off of that instead of the eMMC that's built in, because it's a little bit faster. But there's an M.2 slot over here, and that's where I put my cell modem. So I didn't want to, lose my capability to have my cell modem. I wanted to have Wi-Fi and cell, so yeah. It's a great little laptop, in my opinion. It's a great accessory device. I don't know if I'd use it as a primary device because I still need x86 for quite a few things. Oh, I need to catch up on chat here. Okay, so let's catch up on the chat stuff. What is a Flipper Zero? I don't know anything about coding or hacking, just heard about it online. So a Flipper Zero is this little guy right here. So this is kind of a Swiss Army knife for, a lot of different things you can do. So it has Bluetooth, sub-gigahertz, NFC, RFID capabilities. Now, the interesting thing that you should know about this, we're going to update this in a little bit because I haven't touched it in a while, is there's not really much that this does that's unique, to be clear. When I say that there's not much that's unique, you can actually do all of its individual components on its own. Get a Proxmark, get an NFC, RFID reader, do a lot of these different things. But basically, it allows for all these different things inside of here. Let me see if I can get that zoomed in for you so you can see that screen a little bit better. I'm charging it right now because I haven't charged this. I have a short cable. Hold on. That's interesting. The MNT Pocket Reform is not showing the text on the screen of its little thing. I'm gonna see if I can turn that off and on, and if that fixes it. There's a little slider on the side. Yep, that fixed it. Turning it off and on. Okay. But anyway, here, let me plug this back in so I can keep that topped up. And then I'll take this cable over here and I'll put the flipper cable over there, just so I can get that charging because it's got like no battery life in it. But we'll update the firmware on that shortly because I haven't touched this in a few months. So this is a Flipper Zero. It's just a little device that lets you, you know, God, it's so faint that you can't really see it. But as you can see, you have different apps that you can plug in here. You have, kind of hard to navigate that. So as you can see, RFID, infrared capabilities, so you can use it to like control my AC and stuff like I've done when I couldn't find the remote. I button capabilities, you can use it as a security key. There's a lot that it can do. You can even plug it in to like be a, yeah, see, you got bad KB over there. Hold on, I'm doing this backwards, so you got to bear with me. Yeah, so you can even like have this like kind of like rubber ducky kind of like features out there. It can do a lot. But as I tell people, there's nothing necessarily novel about it, but rather that it has all the stuff combined in one compact platform. That's the, you know, use case with it. Now, you can also expand its capabilities, because if you noticed, I said it doesn't have Wi-Fi. It can do Bluetooth, it can do infrared, it can do sub-gigahertz, it can do RFID, NFC, but it doesn't have a Wi-Fi built in. So you get these little dev boards out here, and then you just slot it into the GPIO over here, and now I have Wi-Fi capabilities. And there's a lot of different expansion headers out there that people design to do all sorts of things. So, you know, you can test doing DAuth attacks, things like that. Again, there's nothing that it does that's novel to the device. The novelty is in how compact the device is and how easy to use it is compared to doing any of these things individually. Hope that helps you understand it. There's nothing wrong with an actually user-friendly OS. Well, Windows isn't user-friendly. That's been my point with that. I like Windows, and yet it hate it. Don't know why, really, because you know there's something better out there. You can have me your way. God damn it, devils, you and your puns. Actually using Red Hat OS is wild. Not really. There's use cases for it. Especially in business. It's just that you actually are paying for IBM/Red Hat to do the actual support for you. So if you run into issues, you have actual engineers that can work with you. It's been actually useful for a couple of issues we dealt with, but we found weird bugs that actually were dealing with OS packages and stuff. What about taco shop analogies? 1012 Zach, hey, what's going on? You can bring... Do you have any portable pen testing gear? Not really, because I don't do too much on the pen testing side. A lot of my stuff is more physical pen test if I do things. I am getting more in that way, but more of my background is on the blue team side, building SimSor, enhancing tools, things like that. But I do learn a lot of the red team tactics so that I can better learn how to enhance the blue team side of things. The reality is there's just a lot more job opportunities out there with blue team than there is red team, at least in my experience. Not saying you can't get a job, it's just saying they're a lot more abundant. Can I back up to a USB drive using Deja Dupe? I believe so. You can put me on your notes. Why don't you... what do you think of all-in-one cybersecurity books for dummies or computer stuff? There's not really a way to have an all-in-one book because cybersecurity has so many different facets to it. You've got red team, blue team, you've got, and then into the different parts of the business, you've got engineering, you've got operations, you've got, governance, risk, and compliance, you've got BCPDR, you've got, there's so many different parts that play into it, network security, host security, that I don't think you can really fit it into one book. The best you can do is focus on different areas of it. Have you fixed your Warframe by reinstall? Yeah, I fixed it a while ago. We've played Warframe quite a bit. I haven't played it in a little while because we've just been doing more chat streams recently. Is the Deja Dupe on Deb formatting? I think what you're asking is if it's installed by Deb package. You can install it there, Flatpak or stuff. I don't remember how I have mine installed. Didn't really realize how easy honeypots are with the SP32. Just learned over last night for red teaming. It's insane. You can do a lot of fun things with the SP32. Now for honeypots and honey nets, I've really enjoyed Zscaler's Deception. I think it's really cool because it can actually adapt into so many different ways. So if you want it to run as an F5, it can run as an F5. If you want it to spin up like an Apache or that, so however you hit it, it acts like that way. And then while you're attacking it, it can feed that information into like, say, Okta or Azure or stuff. And then if you actually hit it with proper credentials, it can then reset that user that is then compromised over there. And you can start collecting a lot of good recon data. So you can start like, as it comes in, you can feed those IOCs and IOAs into your CrowdStrike, for example, to proactively start blocking a lot of these attackers and allow ops the ability to go and investigate things. I love that I can tell when you read my comments. Well, yeah, you're like every other line. You can Hannah Montana. Like, see? Can you add Word on a Linux distribution? No, you don't use Word. You use LibreOffice. LibreOffice is completely free, Libre, and open source, and it's just as capable. The only limitation I found with LibreOffice, to be completely honest, is Calc. Their spreadsheet application is still pretty good for a lot of basic uses, but there's a lot of things it's not as capable in Excel still as well. But in terms of what the average person is using for a document and stuff, LibreOffice is more than capable. You could, if you want to fiddle with it, get Office 365 working in Proton, but it's one of those, like, just deal with, like, LibreOffice. You'll be happier. It doesn't cost you anything. What about the security in Archie OS? You mean, like, Arch? I mean, security is okay. A lot of the security comes down to how you configure it, more so than the operating system itself, unless you're dealing with out-of-date packages, but that comes to system administration. Or Steam. Steam's just easily installed. I mean, I have Steam installed on my Linux box. It's an app image and stuff like that, so you can easily just install it on most systems. Sup, Tom? Hey! Haven't seen you in a while. SteamOS is freaking gonna be everywhere. I wouldn't say that, but it's definitely gonna be, I think it's also, it's just helping a lot of people, I think, see it. You can manage me virtually. Too much of a lazy redneck to use Arch. I'm too lazy, too. What about Rebecca Black Linux? Yeah, I'd have to see about that. Does it still get updates? What, Hannah Montana Linux? No. No, it does not. It's still running, I think it's based on Kubuntu 904. And to give you an idea, we're on 2404 LTS. It's like so far behind, it's not even funny. Did I miss the T? What, the T app? Yeah, we were talking about how badly it's designed, and it's just a bad premise, and just it ironically allowed their users to be insecure. Yeah, we talked about that. Have you tried Temple OS? Yes, I've tried the Holy operating system. I wish I knew IT cybersecurity stuff without the headache of learning or starting. Well, you don't learn anything. I mean, you don't know anything without learning. I mean, no one knows anything. Everyone starts with nothing. You're gonna have to learn. That's the honest truth about things. There's a lot to it, yes. You build up the knowledge over time, gradually, all that, but that's how it works in a lot of different fields. You start out with nothing, and you build up that knowledge, and eventually you get to the point where you're comfortable with it. Do you still have imposter syndrome every day? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. I'm catching up on the chat. You can flip my 0. It's just very fun sized, yeah. But what does it do? I've heard... Okay, I think I answered that already, Los Santos. Let me know... Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'll just look down, and yeah. Rebecca Black. What's up, Cinty Pinky? Do you believe that cybersecurity will be phased out by AI? Looking for your opinion. Absolutely not. It will not be phased out. AI, if anything, now introduces new security risks. Because, as we talked about earlier with the T app being compromised, a lot of developers don't learn about best practices, because if you go into a code review with an actual coder, they can actually, as a human, give you experience and knowledge that, you know, ChatGPT will just, like, give you, like, whatever you're asking for. Like, if you ask ChatGPT to write a, well, you know what? We'll just do it right now. I'll give you an example, because this happens all the time. All right, let's see. All right, so let's open up a new chat here. Write a Python script to use Falcon Pi in CrowdStrike to check for devices in RFM as a Lambda function. Okay. So, why am I doing it this way? Okay, it's actually doing things right now. But that's probably because I gave it a little bit of a handicap. So it's actually using Secrets Manager in this case. Okay, so that wasn't a good example. Because it didn't do that when I started doing it. How about this? Write a Python script to find devices in RFM that are not contained. Okay. So. Okay, they're actually getting better with ChatGPT, because now it's actually doing what I would actually ask it to do. Which is, it'll add the argument for, you know, your CID. Wait, no. Oh, client ID. I was like, that's a totally different thing, but anyway. It used to actually, like, do it so you had to have it hard-coded. And the problem is, if you don't know better, you'll run into an issue where AI will, you know, like, I know this is good based on the fact that I've dealt with Falcon Pi so much with CrowdStrike, and I know how decent, you know, things are supposed to look. Although, I might modify the batch sizes. The other thing that I've noticed is iron range device hosts. Hold on. Is it doing it paginated? Yeah, I don't think it's doing pagination. So there you go. That would be one issue with it. I know that because I've dealt with the code enough. No, it's doing filter scroll. Damn it. ChatGPT, stop improving your stuff, because now I can't make my points, but you get my point. The problem is, if you don't know what good code is, it can introduce a lot of security issues. But also, there's a lot of times where you don't want to feed certain information into an AI or LLM because it can be a violation for different regulatory problems or company compliance. Like, you don't want to feed in unique customer information and everything like that. I've run into a lot of boneheaded code things that have been done by developers, where we would look at the code in Wiz. Wiz is a cloud security platform management, and we can see, hey, hard-coded secrets are in this code. The problem with AI is not going to replace cybersecurity. It's going to be a tool that we will use in cybersecurity. And I know this because we're leveraging it in multiple ways. So we're using the LLMs in CrowdStrike and in Wiz and things like that. By the way, guys, he works for Blizzard, so he knows what he's talking about. I do not work for Blizzard. And I am not a second-generation Blizzard employee. I am not the first second-generation Blizzard employee. But no, so back to the point what I was saying. LLMs, AI are not going to replace cybersecurity, just in the same way that software-defined networks aren't going to replace network engineers. They are merely going to be tools that we are going to learn to use and leverage, but we still have to guide a lot of users to best practices when using these things. And then you have to better understand the code, because it will understand certain frameworks that you need and stuff like that, but it won't know necessarily the best practices or the ways that you need to do things. And I've dealt with code where it's definitely unoptimized. It'll give you the results that you need, but is that necessarily the best result possible? Not always. It's going to be a souped-up mini laptop. That's the point. Because the reality is, Cinti, when it came to this laptop here, why am I getting this laptop? Well, and I want to get the souped up. Well, it's easier to take this around, okay? Like, as a daily driver. I think I have the little bag I'm planning to actually carry with it daily. 1 second, I can show you. So imagine I can go around town, go into, meeting friends or something like that, and I can just carry around a tiny little satchel over here, fit the MNT pocket reform in this. Nice, light, compact. I don't have to carry around my big-ass backpack anymore or that for my regular laptop. And this should ideally be able to suit 90% or 95% of my daily needs in terms of a laptop on the go once it's all said and done with this little MNT laptop. Quick, over it in pins and patches. So what I would love to do, so I have a laptop bag. You know what? Let's go bag shopping for a second. So, as you know, I'm a slut for 5'11". Do they have a small bag that would actually be good for this? I've been loving Linux Mint so far. It's been interesting finding open source alternatives to things. Yeah, it's all right. But I think there's a lot better. I wouldn't say better, but you know, I would say go explore things. So I'm curious if you have like a little bag over here. That actually might be interesting. The Moab 8. This might be a nice little laptop bag right here. You know, over this the shoulder sling. I could fit my nice little laptop in there. And the nice thing is, it fits into the Rush tier system, so I could easily clamp that onto my backpack. Yeah, I like 511 stuff. They also have the Skyweight bag over here. This looks interesting. That might be a nice one. Ooh, I like the volcanic. Not the brown. That's a nice little laptop bag over there. Yeah, look at that. You can have like a little water bottle holder over there. Yeah, that's a nice little bag. Put that little laptop in. Yeah, they have a nice few little bags over here. I'll probably go into the 511 store at some point so I can actually check them out. It's not a purse, it's a satchel. I have the perfect patch for that. I have the perfect patch for that. 1 second. It's my purse! I don't know you! And then I also found this while I was cleaning my house up. I've got the asshole merit badge. But yeah, I need to get one of these bags that lets me put a morale patch on and just walk around. Ooh, actually, this little guy might be perfect. I'm trying to see if they, so they have the Moab Sling 3. So they have this little guy over here. Get that in the black. Look at that. Fits over his shoulder. Tiny. Look how small that is. And it's got MAL-E, so I can always expand it. Like that would be perfect. Just put my laptop in that. It's 85 bucks. They are a little bit expensive, but their stuff lasts, and it's got pockets. So, yeah, that actually might be a perfect little bag. And the cool thing is, I can clip that onto... Okay, so this is how I cheat when I'm in airports. This is good for you to know at DEF CON. So, I will eventually do a video, probably when I'm at DEF CON, of my fit and everything. So the way I do it is... I have this backpack for several years with like all the different extra accoutrement. Like I have tons of MAL-E bags. So this is my main bag over here, different color. I've used this for years. Now, it's a great backpack. So what I do is you can fit a hydration pack in there. So you can actually, right in this area here, so if you notice there's a zipper, you can actually unzip that front area that can hold a 3-liter hydration pack. And then I add a few MAL-E bags. So there's one on the side for my coffee thermos, another one on the side for my ham radio and stuff like that. And then you can fit all sorts of things there. I have another bag on the front that I put on for like tools, medications, stuff like that. You can add so many different... Well, this is great, because I just have this one bag, and then I have my Briggs & Riley carry-on, and those are the 2 bags that I've literally taken around the world with me. And they're great. Yeah, this can hold a laptop. It can hold so much stuff in here. But this is the bag I essentially use every day when I'm at DEF CON. And when I travel the world. I've taken this to Morocco, Portugal, and many other places. So, it's been great. I've had no complaints with it. And again, if I get the little guy, this is the perfect patch for it. That's my purse! I don't know you! So, what I actually do is, because it's in Mali, I attach the bag onto the bag, and then when I go to put my bag in carry-on, this always trips out the flight attendants. I unsnap the bag, and then fit my regular bag overhead, and then boom. Done. So that's my way of getting more stuff in carry-on than you normally should be able to fit. Yeah, it's a really great system. I love 511. They work really great. I wear their shoes. I wear their pants. Their pants have 7 pockets in them. The jeans, like, here, I'll show you the pants that I actually wear. What is it? The Defender Flex? Yeah. Defender Flex jeans. They are kind of expensive, I will be honest, but they are good. And these have 7 pockets in them. So, there's a pocket here, a pocket here, pocket here, pocket here, pocket here, pocket up there for like a knife or something, and a pocket there. Hey, puppers. Hey, puppy. What's up, buddy? You just wanting attention? You just trying to give me a hug? I love you, buddy. You just want attention, don't you? That's a good boy. That's a good dog. That's my number 2 doggy. Poppers. Poppers. Alright. Barack. Chev. Where are your treats? I just cleaned my desk and now I don't know where the treats are. Oh, here they are. Alright, come here. Bo. Chev. Chev. Lamala. Good boy. Where's your brother? Ari! Ari! Yo, Ari, you want a treat? Now he comes. Yeah, puppers. Ari! Come here. Come here, Ari. There you go, boy. Oh, ow! God, I gotta get your nails done. There you go, dog. You've been inside the house most of the day, haven't you? Because it's been so pouring, huh? Okay, Chev. Lamala. Good boy. Oh yeah, Cinti, we did talk about the UK Online Safety Act. So it looked like the provisions went into effect on the 24th, which is why there was that hullabaloo. Proton VPN has reported 1,400% signups. What language is that? Hebrew. So Proton VPN has reported 1,400% increase in UK based signups, and I predict that this is going to create two problems. One, a lot of people are not going to want to do business with the UK with their online services because there's a lot of smaller companies that just cannot afford the processing systems to verify users. The reality is, identity verification is not a cheap system. There are systems out there to lessen the costs, but then also you have to worry about the cybersecurity implications of you are grabbing people's data. How do you process that data? Make sure it's secure. How is it maintained? And it's just going to be a nightmare, I think, for the UK overall. And I think more businesses are just going to cut off their ability to serve the UK than willing to work with the UK. I think companies like Facebook and such, they'll probably have the resources to do this. But smaller companies are not. And it's going to really kill and hamper innovation. Because if companies are not willing to build it out, then yeah. But then you also have the issue of, oh, thank you for the follow, Twisted Jester. You also have the issue of, this is just going to increase the attack surface for people to actually be compromised. And like we saw the T app get compromised because they were holding on to user information in a publicly accessible bucket. I predict, I could be wrong, but I have this gut feeling people are going to target UK-specific applications and platforms a little bit more, knowing these entities have to house this kind of data, which makes it a richer target to go after than, say, the average Joe. What's your opinion on Proton trying to do too much, like the new AI stuff, instead of improving its existing products? I do have some issues with them because, for example, I've been setting up this MNT Pocket Reform over here. They do not have an ARM version of Proton Mail on desktop, which I can just use the web browser. They do not have a ARM version of Proton Pass, and I don't like having to use the browser extension just to do the same feature, especially for offline things. That's just annoying to me. But they do have an ARM version of the VPN app. I think that is a shortcoming, because I remember I was harping on them for, I want to say, a year or so, of them not having a Linux version of Proton Pass. And I think I'm actually going to submit a feature request into them so that they can do that. I do think Proton needs to focus on their current product offerings and how they can enhance it. I don't see the point in an LLM in their system. I understand where they're coming from, and I do like their approach with it, but I just don't see the usefulness in an LLM because I don't want it, I very selectively put my data into an LLM. So I just don't see the point. I wish Proton Mail Bridge was easier to set up as a home lab SMTP. So the issue that I have with Proton Mail Bridge, it works fine. Don't get me wrong. It works fine with Thunderbird. And I think it, for what it is, it works well, but you do have to download and sync the entire, email system and all that, so it takes time. The issue that I have is you're not able to do proper aliasing inside of it. So I have multiple aliases inside of my Proton Mail. with multiple domains. And that was because they were holdovers from when I ran my own email server. So I had like a spam domain, which I would have things route through that I know if it came here, it would end up being spam related stuff. It'd end up being in the same email. So I have all these, you know, old holdovers and stuff like that. But it's a little bit cumbersome, so I end up using the Proton Mail app to be able to better manage that. I was thinking of switching to Proton for my mail. I was going to get the unlimited plan to go get the other stuff as well, but I'm kind of hesitating at the moment. I think it's great. As I said, I ran my own email server for about a decade. Now remember, I am affiliated with Proton, so if y'all can, to help support my work and everything like that, sign up through the links in my bio. Since you actually mentioned it on Twitch, it should have dropped it right there in chat. Use the affiliate code inside of there and everything. Helps me get a few bucks, even when you renew your plan and everything like that. You don't have to, but it would be nice to. But I've been using it for 4 years now. And it's working great. I migrated off of my custom email server a few years ago because I was running into issues where I wanted to get multi-factor authentication set up, and there were just a few other administrative issues that I was having and everything, and it was just easier to move over to Proton Mail because I still didn't have multi-factor authentication. Then I wanted to set up security keys with my YubiKeys, and Proton Mail just had those features and more out the box. Plus, it has the VPN capability, you know, so when I'm traveling, I at least know there's a VPN there. Even though I don't use it most of the time, it's also great for when I need to pretend that I'm, like, say, in India to see how different things respond and all that. But it's also got the simple login capabilities, which is really nice for aliasing. And Proton Pass is a really great password manager because it ties into that simple login email aliasing, so I can have... it does support aliases through catch-all, right? Yeah, you can do that. You can totally do that. I just set up aliases individually. I do it individually because I want to have different accounts for different things. And then I can tie it into Proton Pass, and I can generate a new email that way every time and have that route. And then when it comes through, I can see what email it was sent to, and then I can actually kill that route if it starts getting too spammy, it gets compromised, something like that. And then a lot of my login accounts will actually have unique emails. So let's say that account does get compromised. Well, then they're dumped into a database. Well, they can't go and spray passwords to all the different accounts because it's only for that one account. I mean, you can do the catch-all, but I think the simple login approach is a little bit better in my honest opinion. And it ties into Proton Pass and all that. It's really, honestly, such a relief using that system versus the ways I used to do it custom and everything. I understand where you're coming from. Don't get me wrong. I understand it. I'm just saying that their approach, I think, is a lot better to handle a lot of that stuff specifically. That makes sense? And I think the stream quality on this stream is doing a lot better than the last stream. I could be wrong. Chat, you can let me know. I want to try that since 1Password only supports some other thing. That's a big plus for me for Proton Pass as well. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, 1Password is a great solution, Bitwarden is a great solution. I'm not going to knock them by any means necessary, but I'm going to say that Proton overall, holistically, I think has a better approach because of that email aliasing capability, because everyone talks about, you know, having a different password for your accounts, but I'm like, what about having a different email for every account and then have it tie back to your regular one? So, yeah. That's just my 2 cents. Okay. So I had a few videos, but does it do that with your own domain or theirs? You can do it with your own. You can set up simple login to work with your domain, so you can do that. I have that with my spam domains. But they also have their own, like passmail.net, and there's a couple others they have. So it is customizable in that way. Nextcloud is a password manager now. Nice. I used to have to use, what you call it? KeePass XC built into it with a plugin to do that. So that's kind of nice. I'm curious how they do it. I've seen it while messaging with F-Droid. Interesting. So let's see my playlists. Oh god, I dislike Nextcloud so much. It's not so bad, it's just... It's not... There's better options. But for what you're doing, it's great. So, I got a couple of videos I wanted to go through. Yes. Some of them are, ham radio stuff. But let's watch some little videos that we can react to. Alright, so we got the audio piped through. So they had, let's see this. Why GMRS has replaced CB radio. So I had a few people in chat talking about CB radio, and
since I started this channel on YouTube way back in,
I wanted to, see this because it popped up, and that's interesting. So I wanted to, and I've talked quite a bit about GMRS, and I honestly saw more utility for having GMRS than CB radio, because CB, you have the separate set and all that, but GMRS you can run into the handheld and everything like that. But I don't know if there's a better alternative, to be honest. There's many alternatives out there. You could run Vault Warden, your own Bitwarden appliance. There's it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. But let's go into this little interesting video from Not a Rubicon Productions. I've seen this guy quite a bit on different videos, and I'm curious what his take is on this. It's only a quick little 5-minute video, so we're gonna talk about why GMRS has replaced CB radio. And I do have a GMRS license, and it's not that hard to get. It's $35, lasts you 10 years, and it can apply to whole your family. But no capable radios yet. Well, I do recommend the TID H8 and H3s. Those work with GMRS. Yeah. It's pretty straightforward to get set up with the GMRS. You just got to program the channels, and otherwise you can get just direct GMRS based. Any ham radio should be able to do GMRS. You just have to program in the channels, because there's 22 specific channels for it, plus the repeater channels.
Since I started this channel on YouTube way back in 2004, I have been repeating the news that CB radio is dead and has been replaced by GMRS. Or at a minimum, the argument can be made that GMRS is in the process of replacing CB radio, which nobody can deny is dying out. And every single time that I say this, some people leave comments on the videos that both breathlessly and furiously proclaim that I'm wrong, and that CB radio is alive and well just as much.
I hear a lot of people still use CB, but CB, from my understanding, has been more limited to truckers. Truckers have been using it more than the average everyday person. My grandfather, may he rest in peace, he actually used to do CB and all that. I think back in the days when you had to get licensed and everything. Of course, now CB, you don't have to get licensed. That's a cool background on the right. What, this? This little box here? Yeah, that's the Proofpoint Bluetooth speaker next to the desktop over here.
If not more than it was back in the 1980s. They usually go on to build their case for CB radio by saying that using a CB radio base station with a big antenna on the roof and under the right conditions, and when the weather is perfect, and when the sunspots are just right, they can use their CB radio to talk with anonymous men from hundreds or even thousands of miles away.
That's because it's an HF system. If I recall, CB runs around 27 megahertz, so it is in the HF spectrum, which generally you can't access in the ham radio side until you have your general class license. But it's also low power compared to what we can do in amateur radio, because on most of the bands we can run 1500 watts. I think they're running at 10? I could be wrong. I don't know too much about the CV side of things. But the issue is the sun does impact your ability to do it, because GMRS, so VHF, UHF, which GMRS operates inside of, they're more line of sight. I mean, you don't have to be direct line of sight, but you can get about 50 to 100 mile range on most days. Whereas in HF, there's considerations with the sunspots and the weather and all these other things to get, a good amount of range. And you can definitely do some fun things in HF. I'm building my ham shack out to do HF, and we'll be getting deeper into that with FT8 and Whisper and all these other things, and I'll have content on it. I don't know if we'll do a lot of that stuff live, but I'll be showing you some cool things that I can do and share some cool things that I do on Discord and everything. We'll get that set up when I get back from DEF CON. But, yeah, he's definitely got a point where, all the stars have to completely line up for CB to be especially fun.
That even in the best of conditions, GMRS cannot do, but most normal people have no interest in doing. So in this very short video, I am going to explain why people that claim CB radio is as popular as ever are wrong, and why GMRS has officially replaced CB radio pretty much in the same way that the automobile has replaced the horse. Of course, and obviously people still do ride horses, but the majority of people now use an automobile instead of a horse for doing the practical things that they need to do every day, like driving to work, the grocery store, or for making the occasional late night trip to the local highway rest stop. And it's the same thing with GMRS and CB radio. So
The honest truth is I haven't really made any contacts on GMRS. I've been mostly on VHF, UHF on ham radio and hit my local repeaters to make DX. Yeah. I have my GMRS license just because it was one of those, like, look, I'm getting my ham license anyway. I may as well spend $35, get them both at the same time. It can't hurt. But, yeah, I think it'd be fun to play with the CB, but I don't know if there's going to be as many people on there as there used to be unless you're, like, in the trucker side of things.
First of all, you must understand and accept these two very undeniable truths. Number A, not many people are using a CB radio with a base station and a big antenna on their roof anymore. I didn't say none, I didn't say nobody, I said not many, and certainly far fewer than 30 years ago. And number two, for the last 30 years or so, most CB radio use has been in cars and trucks. And the vast majority of that usage has been replaced by cell phones. It's just a fact. You can't deny this. Some people will even say that it was cell phones that killed CB radio and not GMRS. But that's not as clickbaity to say.
I'd agree with that.
Nobody uses CB radio base stations, and virtually no normal person has a CB radio installed in their vehicle these days. But there is still a small...
Well, I'm not a normal person. I have a ham radio in mine. Yeah.
...of the population that requires communication while out of cell phone service areas, whilst off-roading or overlanding or even highway caravanning or whatever. But they don't want the hassle or expense of installing a big CB radio or a GMRS radio in their vehicle. So they choose to use a handheld radio. And this is where the advantage of GMRS over
I'm not mistaken, he's got a TID, it looks like H3 or H8 in his hands.
CB radio becomes undeniably clear. These smart people have discovered that using a handheld GMRS radio in your vehicle can give just as many FARs whilst driving as a built-in mobile CB radio. But
yes and no. Yes and no. So the issue with the handheld transceiver is if operating inside your car, you have the shielding effect of your car that can impede your signal for both RX and TX, receive and transmit. And that is a problem, which is why I actually have a separate system I use for my car, and I have an antenna that I put on my roof of my car for my ham radio. Because when I was operating with my handheld transceiver, I would have to pop open the window and stick the antenna outside for it to receive. But then, you know, you're the issue of your orientation, vertical versus horizontal, and that was a whole thing there. But with but the issue also when it comes to CB, is by the nature of it being around 27 megahertz, a relatively low frequency, you would need, ideally, a very big antenna for the best ability to receive and transmit. Like, if using a half-wave antenna, you would probably need about a 17-foot antenna if doing half-wave. If doing quarter-wave, you'd need an 8.5. So you would need a decent height for an antenna. Whereas, let's say, what is the frequency for GMRS? I can't remember off the top of my head. If we do a GMRS frequencies list, let's see. So they're between 462 and 467. So what that means is if I do a half-wave antenna, let's do it on the low end, I would be fine with about a foot. If I do a quarter wave, about half a foot. You see how that's a lot more easier to set up a GMRS system to properly be performant. I hope I'm doing my calculations right. But that's my understanding there. So, yeah, I totally understand where GMRS can be easier inside of a vehicle to at least get that operating. Even if you do a mobile set, or even just to attach an antenna, and then you can attach a handheld transceiver, plug that in. So, yeah, definitely.
Really put the snail in the coffin of CB radio is that until recently, you couldn't even buy a handheld CB radio. And if you do have one, like this, you would very quickly discover why, when using a radio with a small antenna, like on a handheld HT walkie-talkie radio, GMRS is far superior.
I beat him to the punch. See? I was right. Because what you're going to have to do is basically load that coil. You're going to have to load the coil to be able to electronically extend the antenna. And you're still going to notice you're going to want a longer antenna with lower frequencies. That's why, you know, the VHF UHF antenna I'm looking at for my ham shack is roughly 10 feet. But the HF antenna is roughly 24 feet, excuse me. Getting a little burpy from the wine over here. But yeah, I that's kind of cool. I came to the same conclusion as him, where I was just doing the calculations roughly for half-wave versus quarter-wave antenna.
A handheld CB radio like this, in good conditions, meaning with line of sight from an elevated position, will give you about half a mile or so of FARs, give or take. Whereas with pretty much any $30 GMRS radio in those exact same identical conditions, you can get 10 or 20 miles of FARs. And even in poor conditions, pretty much any handheld HT GMRS walkie-talkie radio is going to give you many more FARs than any handheld CB radio. and often even more FARs than a built-in mobile CB radio can give. And this is not just because GMRS radio transmits with more power, and I'm not even talking about making use of a repeater on GMRS, which you can't even do with a CB radio,
Right.
which would give you even more FARs. The
Right.
reason is the difference in the frequencies that CB radios and GMRS radios use. CB radios operate in the 27 MHz range, while GMRS
Megahertz.
radios operate in the 462 MHz range. And this means that due to the immutable and undeniable laws of physics, an antenna that is small enough to be practical for use on a handheld HT radio will perform far better on GMRS than a small antenna on a CB radio.
Yep.
You cannot argue this. You cannot deny it. It's just physics. So basically what I'm saying to you right now is physics killed CB radio.
10-4, good buddy. Hello.
Yep. So as I was saying earlier, I was right with the math. CB is just not as easy to, get to where you want it to be for, easy setups and everything. Because I remember, look at the math here. 468, which is the number you use for a half wave, divided by 27 megahertz, 17.33 feet is what you would need for an antenna. Whereas 234 for a quarter wave at 27 megahertz, you'd still need 8.5 feet. You can slap that easily onto a car, but an 8.5 foot whip is still, a little bit of length. Which is why a lot of truckers can get away with it, because 8.5 feet of a whip ain't that bad. But if you put that on, a sedan, that's definitely going to get some height. But a GMRS antenna, you can get away with a foot for a half wave and half a foot for a quarter wave. But yeah, so let's look at this other video they have going on. Apparently there's some antenna that everyone is talking about in the ham world. I've heard a few people talking about this. I was curious about it, and I wanted to see. He's made a couple of videos here. So we're gonna go with this first video over here. With whatever antenna they're talking about.
Manager at Martin Lynch and Sons, Mike Zero TPT, and today we've got Matt, who's going to introduce
A loop on ground.
Special. If you haven't heard of loops on the ground, because I know they've been very popular as late.
Yep.
Interesting.
What we're going to show you one that Matt's company produces, Omni RF. And we're going to go through some use cases and what benefits it can bring to your radio experience. So, first of all, Matt, welcome along.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Yeah, great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about the business, and then we'll talk a little bit about the products.
No problem at all. So, Omni RF, I make low noise kind of specialist receive antennas mainly for HF. I do a few other small accessories and things, but I mainly focus on increasing the receive performance of your urban station. So that's generally what we do as a company.
Lovely. And what product are we going to be talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about the loop on ground antenna, which is a great antenna for resolving noise.
Enough to have one. I've been using it at home, and I don't have too much noise, but I'm hearing more, and it's becoming a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And we'll go on to explain how we set it up and just what you can do with certain transceivers by having the diversity in each ear when you're wearing your headphones. So I'm just going to grab.
I'm curious how this actually works.
Super.
So talk us through the product then, and what we've got right there.
No problem at all. So I produce a 3D printed box, which is made out of a material called ASA. So it's a bit tougher than ABS.
That's about the same capability, really, when you're saying ASA is tougher. Not necessarily tougher, it's just more stable. Why am I buffering? Welcome to the 21st century, where the buffering still happens. The hell? Did my network just drop? Oh, okay, so you sent me that, the F-Droid thing. Why is it just alerting me to it now? I love how my phone just like went and then derp. I think there was something going on with the storms earlier that messed things up. Wait a second. I don't know what the hell happened. It just dropped.
It's a bit tougher than ABS, the kind of standard plastic that you get inside a vehicle. It has high UV resistance as well, so it will sit out in the sun and not degrade. A lot of
That's the main thing about
products,
ASA is it's more UV
they'll
stable.
deform in the sun, or the UV will attack them and they'll change color. So this
And it's been
this
quite
doesn't
hot
do
as
this.
late, so
It's been
it's
quite
probably a
hot,
good thing.
yes. And then inside this we have a custom-made PCB. And on that PCB, we have a fully
We just ordered 2 Heltec
9-to-1 transformer
V3s. Nice.
with a special ferrite core in there.
Okay.
You'll
which is
enjoy
a
those from
77
Meshtastic.
ferrite core. So not your standard 43 that a lot of people will. If you're trying to make one yourself, you'll buy a little 43 core. The ones in here are much bigger, much beefier, more turners on them. And then on the outside, we have A2.
So he's talking about the ferrite chokes. It really depends on the mix that goes inside of there to clean up noise. A lot of times when you have noise on the line, adding a ferrite choke fixes it, whether it's audio cables, stuff like that. You'd be surprised how many times you actually come across a device that has a ferrite choke and you don't even realize it. Like there's this USB cable right here. That's got a ferrite choke on the end. It's that little bulb thing that you see on the connection right before it goes in. That's a ferrite choke. Sometimes they're on both ends, sometimes they're just on one. But it can help reduce, what does he call it? Common mode or whatever noise. Basically, it just, adds more impedance to it along the way.
Stainless steel hardware.
It depends more on the mix.
Steel. So really quality stuff, never going to rust, never going to corrode, and we have a high quality connector on it as well.
Brilliant. And what makes that a little bit different to most of the other loops on the ground that are on the market?
So the thing that makes this most different from the other loops on the ground in the market is going to be the transformer. So the mix of the cores that I use in there, the 77 mix with a little tweak to it as well. My secret sauce in there.
Secret sauce,
and the number of windings that are on as well.
Sure.
Okay.
So this produces, the reason that I use that transformer.
Can you just crack one open so I can actually see what it looks like? That's actually more what I would like to see than somebody talking about it.
Gives us the least amount of loss through the system here. It's also fully isolated, so the loop terminals here are actually physically not connected to the coax terminal here, so it's a completely isolated transformer. So there's no DC continuity across this device.
Oh, okay.
It's all done with magnetic magic.
And tell me about the magnetic magic then. How does that get in the mix with how the antenna works?
No problem. So the loop on ground is what we call it uses the magnetic portion of the radio wave to pick up the signal. So unlike a normal antenna, so a vertical or a long wire or an end-fed half wave, anything like that, this is basically rejecting all of that electrical noise and all the electrical signal, and it only picks up the magnetic portion of the wave. So when you place this on the ground and you place the loop on the ground, it's ignoring or rejecting all of that local electrical noise that's being produced by TVs, microwaves, iPads, chargers, all that kind of stuff.
All the stuff that's around us.
It rejects that, and it just picks up the magnetic portion of the radio wave.
Interesting.
Wow. So almost
I wonder if this would be good for a Parks in the Air setup.
grabbing out the wanted signal rather than the unwanted signals that we do experience at home, coming from all our little wall warts and, like you say, all the little chargers and whatnot. Amazing. And so I know you brought something special for us to demonstrate it. So this is a shortened, a lot shortened version.
yeah.
So normally 60 feet or 100 feet they're available in.
That's what I would think you would
But
need.
this is what the loop would look like on the ground. And if I grab one of these, the thought that's gone into it. So you might see here that we've got a couple of holes.
So that's what I was curious about.
Same diameter as a or width as a peg. So what you would do is you would pop that through the holes, and then you can actually peg this down to the ground. So I like that because
Yeah,
I when I put mine together and we did one yesterday, it was like, that's what they're for.
Yeah, that's right.
They're
yeah.
for the holes.
And you can also, if you're mounting
So is that for like grounding it or something like that? That's what I'm curious about. Is how does that work?
this,
Then maybe you're gonna
say you're
explain.
up against a fence or something like that,
Yeah.
you can mount this way up, and you can place
okay.
some screws through here and
And
screw it
then
into
you
a
can
wooden
have it going
fence,
round.
and then drop your loop down and around. And if you're on a concrete surface or a hard surface,
Yeah.
you can just put a brick or something on top of it if you don't want it moving around. So
Awesome. So if we set this up here then.
So the peg is really just to
Our
hold it.
imaginary
It's
loop on the
not
ground.
anything integral to it.
So one goes one side, one goes the other. And then all you do, you feed out the wire until you get to one of these little bumps, which I'm assuming is just a piece of heat shrink.
yeah, it's a piece of marine grade glue lined heat shrink, so it's not going to move.
And then what you do, when you get to that section, you just go 90 degrees. And then you get to the other section and you just go 90 degrees. And then 90 degrees. And, and then you connect it up. So these give you the markers of when to stop.
That's right.
Turn 90 degrees.
All pre-measured.
And hopefully you should come back to the transformer itself.
Yeah.
And then simply remove the wing nuts, remove the washer on there and connect it up. Put your coax on. Now, what I experienced when I set one of these up at home, again, we're saying it lowers your noise floor.
Yeah.
And it did exactly that. So I use a 101, Yaesu 101 MP at home, using the Heil headphones. And I had my transmit antenna in one ear. And then I had this connected to the RX on the back of the radio. And I had that in my other ear.
Perfect.
And I could actually hear the band changing over time between the two headphones. And then I was switching between the two, and although the signals were lower, it was so much clearer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You told me something quite interesting this morning, which I didn't try, and you told me the reasons why in regard to using your preamp.
That's right.
On your radio.
So with the loop on ground, you will find the signals coming in are lower. So if you're listening to a signal that is perhaps S9 on a vertical, on the loop on ground, that signal might be an S4, it might be an S5.
Okay.
But on the loop on ground,
S4, S5 is a signal strength. Every single one is 20 times stronger, if I recall correctly.
noise floor should be down at about an S1 or maybe even a
So
0.
S5 is better than S4.
What I found,
Whereas on your vertical, your noise floor might be an S7, an S8 if you're somewhere really noisy.
Interesting.
So what we're really interested in with the loop on ground and the performance and measuring its effectiveness is not how strong the signals are it's receiving, but it's the difference in the signal level between the noise floor and the signal level. So it's the signal to noise ratio that we're interested in, and having one of these in a noisy environment really increases that. So it makes a station that might have been a 3 dB signal to noise just about listenable to on SSB, just about make it out. With the loop on ground, the signal might be lower, but the SNR will probably be 6 dB, 9 dB, much stronger, much clearer, so you can hear them better. And you can also...
That's another antenna I'm going to have to play with, I guess.
Preamp on in the radio with this, because that noise...
Chalk this up to one more expensive hobby for me.
Preamp on and just lift it up a little bit if you want to match them and make...
Why did I have to pick the two most expensive hobbies? I have home labbing and ham radio. My wallet hates me.
Signals higher.
Amazing. And that's exactly what I did at home without the preamp. So it's been a learning day for me with Matt, in as much as
Aviation
as
is
you
an
explained,
expensive
because
hobby.
it's
I've been studying for my pilot's license as well. I didn't really tell you all that, but I have been studying for it. I've been taking my time. Yeah. I picked all the expensive hobbies.
in for the magnetic signals
Yeah.
and rejecting all the electronic
Or the electric
rubbish
field. Yeah.
that we don't really want to listen to and interfere with our signals. If you use the preamplifier on your radio, you're not just amplifying everything
That's it. Yeah.
and then having to use your DNR or whatever to try and filter it out. So because this has got good selectivity on the wanted signal frequency that you're on, you can then use the preamp, which I'm going to try because I haven't tried that yet. You can then use the preamp, but you're only preamping the wanted signal.
Yeah, you're preamping less of the electrical noise and more of the magnetic signal
more of
that
what
you
you
want.
need.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to try that one.
Excellent. Yeah, give it a try.
when I get home. So explain to me, what does this come with when you buy it? What do you get?
Okay,
That's what
no
I'm
problem.
curious
you've
about.
got
So how does this
several
work?
options. You can buy the loop on ground transformer on its own, which has everything you need for just hooking it up to the radio, and you can add your own element.
Okay, cool.
So you don't have to buy the element. You can just, if you've got some wire laying around and you want to make your own and put your own.
Okay, so this is the receive-only system. So I would still have to use my antenna. I'm planning to put, the FAA physical is really strict. Yep, I'm looking at it. But yeah, this system is receive-only, so you'd still need another antenna for TX.
The loop on ground transformer comes in two flavors. It comes in the SO239.
Yeah.
And it comes with a BNC as well. So some people like to use BNC for their receive path. Others like to use the SO.
Yeah.
You can also purchase the actual loop itself. This is obviously a very small version of the loop. But the loops come in 60-foot or 100-foot variants. And with those, you can either make a 15-foot per side loop or a 25-foot per side loop. The 60-foot one is good for kind of 40 meters and higher. If you've got the space, the 100-foot one will give you really good performance down on 80 and better on 160 as well.
Brilliant.
All the loops come marked with a tiny little marker so we know what size they are. They come with pre-terminated tables with marine grade glue line.
I was going to say that
shrink.
because literally they're ready to rock.
I'd be curious about putting that around my yard. That might be a nice setup for a receive. That's a nice upgrade for later.
They're all ready to go, and every loop, so the 60-foot loop comes with these markers every 15
The magic
foot,
corners.
and the 100-foot loop comes with these markers every 25 foot.
Yeah, that's definitely something interesting. I've been hearing a few people talking about this, but yeah, I didn't actually see it. I just heard them talking about loop on ground and everything. Interesting. I'll have to play with that later, but I need to get my ham shack working as it is. So, let's move on to another video now that I got the basics out there. Hunting a pirate transmitter. Yeah. So if you're ever curious how they actually track down pirate transmitters and things like that, that was interesting. So I saw this video. I haven't seen it myself. So I saved it to the stream list for later. And we're going to watch that together.
In this video, I'm going to be talking about transmitter hunting. Well, pirate hunting.
Now, I haven't seen this guy before. I just saw this video. I thought the entire topic was interesting. And I thought some of you all would probably be curious in hearing this as well. Because I know a lot of people have always been curious about, well, how hard is it for someone to track me if I'm, doing something illegal on ham radio or all that? Which is why I've always been, adamant on if you're going to get on your ham radio or GMRS, go get licensed, and then you can start tinkering with the art and science of radio. And I think it's a very worthwhile experience, but you also have to do it responsibly because radio is a very delicate thing overall. But let's see what he has to say.
Really. Sometimes you have to protect your signal. And sometimes you'll have pirates jumping on your signal thinking, I won't get caught. You'll get caught. And I'm going to give you the tools where the know-how of how to catch these pirates. So, I'm outside here in Sedalia. Is this Sedalia? Sedalia, Colorado, just south of the Denver metro. And I have a station that I'm going to be finding. I did cheat a little bit. It is a real broadcast station, and I know where it is, but the whole point is the process of finding this transmitter site. So, let me go pull out the spectrum analyzer and the other tools, and
So I'm curious how he does it, because I was going to show you a tool that I actually want to buy in the near future, and I hope to take to the next DEF CON so I can track down things. Because there are some SDR tools that they actually plug into Android. You can actually make a map, and then it can actually put, driving directions to go find the signal. But let's see.
show you how to find a pirate radio station. All right, let's go. I like trains too. This is kind of distracting.
Did I mention that most people that are into ham radio often are on the spectrum themselves? And we like trains. I'm just saying.
All right, I'm back. Little distracting with the train going by. And now I have planes flying over. That's so distracting for me. So the tools that we are going to need are a spectrum analyzer, portable one, because you're going to want to take it with you. We're going to need a loop antenna. Now, we'll talk about the loop antenna here in a second. Obviously, a cable to connect the antenna to the spectrum analyzer. Adapters if you need them, and a GPS antenna. Now, a way to map, really. The GPS antenna for this spectrum analyzer, the GPS antenna attaches to the spectrum analyzer. It has a little receiver inside, and it knows where it is. I can put a map in the spectrum analyzer, and it makes interference hunting so much easier. But we won't just do that. I'll show you that, but I'll also show you how I do it on a map. Now let me talk about this loop antenna. Now the loop antenna is sensitive in the direction of the loop. So it's sensitive in this direction, and it's sensitive in this direction, but it's not sensitive in this direction. This is called the null. This sensitive section is pretty wide. So we're not going to be using that to find where the signal is. We're going to be using the narrow null. This null is very narrow, and so we're going to look for that when we find when we're searching for the signal. So I'm going to connect this to the spectrum analyzer, get the signal, get the station that I'm looking for up, and I'm going to start finding that null. So as I spin around, I'm going to find the spot where that signal drops out, disappears, gets low, or whatever on the spectrum analyzer. And once I do that, I'll mark that direction on a map and go, okay, that's the direction that I believe that it's coming from. Then we'll pack everything up, we'll go to the next spot, and we'll repeat this whole process again. Pulling the antenna out, doing a reading. So the other thing is that when we do this, we want to be away from walls, tall buildings, cars. So right now I'm in the middle of a parking lot. So I'm going to actually relocate
You need a wide
more
area.
over in the middle of the parking lot where it's a little bit more clear because I have this stuff around. But as I do that, I'm going to find that null with the spectrum analyzer, mark it on the map, and boom, off we
Learning about
go.
signal hunting.
Next spot. That's the plan. I haven't done this in a few years. I've been wanting to do this for a while and wanting to share this with you because, again, this is something, like I said, we got to do as broadcast engineers. So,
And I've been wanting to learn how to do this
got
myself.
my spectrum analyzer, have my loop antenna.
That's a big boy.
I have a GPS antenna attached to this, but apparently it's not working anymore. Oh, that's a bummer because that's a cool feature that's on here. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, so I've got my loop antenna, and all I'm going to do is look at this. Basically, it's zero span, so all I have is just a single line in time, and I'm going to see this signal go up and down based on how I have this pointed. So right now, I'm gonna just kind of spin it a little bit. Okay, signal's going down. Signal's dropping like crazy.
I did a bit in my radio and satellite class when I was in college. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna look at getting into amateur satellite stuff in the near future, but first I want to get my ham shack set up.
Okay, it's back up. Let's go down, find the null again. Okay. All right, so generally it looks like the signal is in that direction. So this is our first point that we're going to be looking at where this is. So as we plot this on the map, we'll draw lines through it and we'll find where this transmitter is. So our first one, let's draw a line this way through our map.
Let me jump in here for a moment and talk about my spectrum analyzer settings. The frequency I'm looking for today is at 91.1, and I'm looking at zero span on my spectrum analyzer. Zero span is a feature that basically only focuses on the frequency that you've entered into your spectrum analyzer. It will show.
So he's actually looking at like an actual like radio station where they're broadcasting. I think he mentioned earlier that this is actually a potential pirate station, or it's a legit station. I didn't catch on to that part of it. So it'll be interesting to see what comes about this, because we're not allowed to broadcast in ham radio, especially at the this part of the spectrum, because that's a commercial frequency. But yeah.
A view like a strip chart. In this case, it's showing the signal strength over a period of time. I like this for transmitter hunting because I can see the rise and the fall a little bit easier. But there are a couple of other modes that this specific spectrum analyzer has, and yours might as well. One is the signal strength meter view, which gives you a little meter, and the other is the spectrogram view. The important thing is that you're able to see the strength of the signal relative to you as you spin your loop antenna. And speaking of loop antennas, I know some of you will ask about log periodic and Yagi antennas, but the problem with those are that they're too broad. The loop antenna is a lot narrower than the beam width of a Yagi or log periodic, and it's much easier to carry.
Okay, I forgot about one feature that I have. This this thing has a sound feature. I don't know if you can hear it beeping at me. So as I just twist it around, hear how the sound goes down, the pitch of it goes down. That's a lower signal. And as I turn it around, I forgot about that.
That'd get annoying to listen to for a while.
All right, well, there's my null in that direction. As I was trying to coax my GPS antenna to life, I stumbled on this sound beeping feature, so enjoy. All right, let me try to finish this.
I don't know how anyone can enjoy that. That's kind of annoying.
Have you ever had an audio issue that just made you upset? But don't worry, because
like a class of fourth graders with the recorders. Yeah, I wonder if you can get it to play Hot Cross Buns.
All sorts of gadgets and headphone disconnectors to prevent you from ripping the headphone jack right out of the console, to mic processors and software.
All right, let's give my dog another treat. Ari, Barack.
I want to focus on something specific. The Angry Audio Rave. It's their powerful yet affordable audio console built for radio stations just like yours.
Interesting.
The Rave has 8 stereo line inputs, up to 4 microphone inputs.
That's a beefy boy.
Mix buses, 2 mix minus outputs,
Barack.
a monitor feed for your control room,
Come and get a treat.
much more. The Rave is made of anodized aluminum, silky smooth faders, and tally outputs for your on-air light. Get major market quality at small market prices. Learn more at angryaudio.com. Thank you, Angry Audio, for sponsoring this.
Are they outside?
here off the side of the road over here.
Maybe outside.
Next to the fire station. That's out here.
Rock!
Big wide
Ari!
gravel area. So I've got my spectrum analyzer, got my loop antenna.
Are you going to do the radio fox hunt?
And
Yep,
I'm gonna
that's
get
the
in zero
plan.
span here so I can see.
I don't think I'm going to bring my DMR radio this time. I think I'm just going to bring my TID-H8.
Easy. Oh, I'm seeing a dip.
Because it's easy to program.
I'm seeing it
I plug
climb
my
back
phone in
up.
on Bluetooth, load up OD Master, and then can
All right.
get all the local repeaters and everything. I'm going to also try to see about hitting some of the local repeaters and see what I pick up.
Okay.
While in Vegas for DEF CON.
Over behind it is over in that direction. Probably it is over in that direction. Probably up on one of those peaks over there, those ridges. So we're gonna go south a little bit more, do one more measurement, take a direction from that one, and then we'll draw all 3 lines on the map, and we'll see where those come all together. They converge. That's the right word. We'll go closer to where those lines converge.
I have no idea why I'm dropping connections.
More measurements, and again, we'll just keep doing it in.
Yeah, the stream is having issues. I think it's related to the storm that we had earlier because my tests were working just fine when I was testing the other day. I don't know why the stream has been messing up lately. I think it was the storm that may have messed up some things. I may have to check my firewall and stuff like that. But I do know I'm going to probably be calling it an early night as well. Because I do have to do some stuff early in the morning. We'll see about that. Thank you for the follow, Jerry.
All right, let me pack up everything, mark this on the map, and then move on.
You just keep marking it on the map. But this is like showing how easy it is to track somebody's signal down if you really wanted to.
I'm out at my 3rd spot now. I've got my spectrum analyzer and my antenna. So let me back up here. All right, let's see which way.
I may end up rebooting all of my equipment tonight too.
Spin the antenna. Got to adjust my reference level here so I can actually see it. Okay. All right, here we go.
You just spin the antenna, do the thing.
Okay, so it looks like it's in. In that direction.
Oh.
It's in that direction. Didn't realize I stepped out of frame. Okay, so it's in that direction. Now, the trouble is with this area is that this is really mountainous and hilly. So I might have
there's something going
reflections
on with my
off of
firewall.
that hill or off of this hill that could give me a false reading. So that's why you want to have 3 or more points that you do your
So I'm
measurements.
definitely have to troubleshoot
We
that.
have 3 points. It's in this direction. It kind of tracks with what the other 2 points were showing. So let's plot this on the map and let's start circling in closer to where those points or those lines converge.
Hi, I'm going to take a moment here and recognize the sponsor of today's video, LinkUp Communications. When your content has to get to your audience, you can count on their content distribution using XDS and other industry-leading platforms. LinkUp has provided distribution.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of memory exhaustion issues since doing the
over 3 decades. If you're wanting more information about their services or just who are they, visit their website.
That might be related to my issue.
And now, back to the video.
Well, our adventures, our triangulation has led us to this gate. Actually, not this gate, actually what's on the hill up here. there's a transmitter site up here, and when we look at where all the lines line up, they all converge, that is where it is. Now, part of what you're going to do as when you're T-hunting or pirate hunting, especially if you're doing pirate hunting,
into DNS
you're going to
unbound
get
over.
close. And then you start using your eyes. You start looking for antennas, for structures, for things that could support a transmission antenna.
Quick release flooding.
So in this case, I know there's towers up here. So where all the things converge, this is probably where it's going to be. Now, if I really wanted to hone in on where this is, I would take another measurement here and see which direction it would come from. Basically, I would take that big triangulation circle, if you will, and then just keep coming in closer.
Yeah, I think it's my firewall that's having some issues. I'm working on it.
It's all about the eyes and looking at what you've got. So that is T-hunting in a nutshell. Pirate hunting, protecting your signal. So again, let's kind of review. We have the points that we mapped out, and I went to each of those 3 points, took a measurement, found the null of the where the signal was, the null from that antenna, drew a line in that direction on the map, and went to the next spot, did the exact same thing. 3 should get you pretty close. And in this case, it gets us pretty close to where this is. So that is it. It's a fairly simple concept. And if you want to get into it, and it's fun, it really is. Find
I keep having some PHP issues.
Doing T-hunts. Those are a ton of fun. I did one with a spectrum analyzer company called Enritsu, one of their training sessions that they had.
Unbound is
in
crashing.
California. And the culmination of the training thing was a transmitter hunt. And they would put a little transmitter somewhere in the parking lot. And with the spectrum analyzers, we had to go and find it. And yeah, actually that's how I got the backpack that I use for my computer from that, because that was the prize. So anyways, I am off the highway here, off the road, and there's people screaming down this little 2-lane road. So yeah, I'm glad I'm well off of it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this channel. I really appreciate you being here. And thank you to the sponsors for this video. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel. I will have more content out on here. And there's a backlog of content. And if you want to see transmitter site tours, or if you want to see studio tours, well, I've got those right here for you. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, keep learning.
Howdy everybody, Steve here, KM9G. Today we're going to repair another Redivus.
Nice. So at least I got to learn about, you know, hunting on pirate stations, but I need to figure out what is going on with my connection. I thought it was going perfectly fine, then I did a system update, and then now I'm starting to get dropped here and there. It's really interesting. I don't know why it's doing that all of a sudden, but I'm not dropping at the modem anymore, which is interesting. So let's see what NTOP NG might be showing me. Okay. Looks like I'm hitting something. Yeah, I'll show you what I'm looking at. This is my firewall showing me all my settings here. And I'm just digging into it to see why am I getting issues all of a sudden. Now I did try, doing a I had this working perfectly fine for three-way stream and everything, but it is getting a little late, and I do need to wake up early tomorrow, as well as I got repairs, all that stuff and everything. So thank you all for joining me, and if you haven't already, follow me on all of my socials. Make sure to check out the links in bio for that. I'm on TikTok, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Twitch, YouTube, Kick, everything. And then, of course, we have the Discord and Matrix servers. If you're over on the Twitch side of things, stick around for the raid. Otherwise, I will see you next time, which should be tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll have the stream figured out. And I love you all. Stay safe and happy hacking. See you tomorrow.